everybody, and welcome to me, Elizabeth Joseph's Variety Hour.
Yes, and fine day in April it is. So good to see you tonight, Mary Elizabeth. My name is Kaye Lazar, the announcer, the announcer of this show. And let's see. So did you have a happy Easter?
It was great, yes.
That's good. Easter was the last day of March this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I still haven't figured out how they do Easter as far as where on the calendar. Next year it's somewhere. I heard in 2029. I just heard this. I think it's 2029 that Easter is going to be on April Fool's Day.
Oh wow.
Can you imagine? The president got in trouble for having some sort of Trans Awareness Day, which is actually Trans Awareness Day is actually the last day of March always.
Yeah.
And then it happened to be Easter, and he seemed to give them both equal measure. Of course, the fire and brimstone people were up in arms about that because they want to live in a theocracy. They don't want to live in a country run by laws and diversity. Obviously not. They usually win.
Yeah.
But let's see. And so I'm, that's what I've. Let's see. My Easter was good. Oh, I went to a brunch. And just ate all this food. I ate deviled eggs, and I ate candied yams, ham biscuits, and it was a dry situation. Well, I don't drink anyway, but I drank a whole bunch of soda, Pepsi Cola, and I think it was a cherry Coke actually, and I ate so much. And I was, they're very nice people who had this thing. So I was actually, here, have some more. And you feel obligated to eat all this stuff because they're so nice to you.
Yeah.
But then when I got home, all I wanted to do was lay down, take a nap. So that was my Easter in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And what did you do on Easter?
I went to church.
All right.
And then.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a novel idea.
And then I had church. And then I had lunch at church.
You did lunch at church, okay. Above, like what they call it, a potluck or?
Yeah, potluck.
Yeah, potluck,
yeah.
What was the best thing someone brought? Lobster, thermidor, pheasant under glass.
They had a really good macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese, okay,
yeah.
That's good. I had macaroni and cheese too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Macaroni and cheese is kind of weird when you think about it. It's basically spaghetti, pasta.
Yeah.
But instead of putting tomato sauce on it, you put melted cheese on it.
Oh, yeah.
And people think it's something different when actually it's the same.
And then after that, I went back home for a little while.
Yeah.
And then after we got back home, we went back out to go to a sushi restaurant.
Sushi restaurant, okay.
Yeah.
Sushi, how about that? Isn't that raw fish? People eat that stuff?
Yeah, it's really good though.
Well, I've noticed something about sushi that's kind of neat, is that sushi is, when I first heard about it, I mean, we're talking a long time ago, 30 years ago or so, and it became sort of popular. I couldn't believe how anyone could eat this stuff. It's raw fish. Then somebody told me, a lot of the food you eat is kind of raw. I'm not gonna I don't really know what I'm eating. I'm talking like ham, like lox, salmon. I mean, a lot of that stuff is not really cooked. It's just aged in a it's what's the word, they cure it. and so when you're eating it, it's already kind of prepared, but it's also not cooked. So certainly a lot of this Japanese fish is like tuna and little piece of shrimp and sashimi, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So then okay, and also raw oysters. People eat that stuff. I don't know why, but they do. And you eat raw oysters?
I do sometimes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I love oysters.
But they're better cooked, really?
Yeah.
I think so. I always feel that you eat raw oysters only because you're too lazy or you're so hungry you don't want to cook it or clean a pot. It's all right. Let's just go for that. And I noticed that in the day, like when I was in college, we ate a lot of raw oysters. And when we ate raw oysters, what that really meant was we would drink a lot. And then we would eat the raw oysters because, it was kind of, we could do it. Also, there's a famous comedian was telling jokes about eating raw oysters. That if you ever see a raw oyster, it looks like somebody spit in it or threw up in it. And said, now eat this. Now, and if you notice people who eat raw oysters, they put hot sauce on it, they put Texas Pete on it, they put that sriracha sauce, they put butter sauce, they put garlic on it, they put that. So the rule is never let it taste like an oyster. Always make sure that and if you can't get any of that stuff, then just scarf it down really fast. So anyway, so I went to a sushi restaurant for the first time, many years ago, and what I thought was weird about sushi was there was just a little thumbnail full of raw fish, and then it was more of the preparation, all this rice around it and all this thing around it, and it was very expensive,
Yeah.
and then I realized you're not really eating the fish so much. You're eating all that rice and the roll around it. That whatever that eel skin, whatever that, I don't know what it's called. That roll that's on it, and but then once I got into eating sushi,
it's called
seaweed wrap. I think you're right. It's a seaweed wrap. Yeah, and there's actually usually the person that does the sushi at a restaurant, if it's like a Chinese buffet or Asian buffet, they are probably the most skilled people, cooks there. Other people, just follow recipes. There, I think you actually have some sort of training in cutting the piece and knowing what piece it is.
Yeah.
So when you're at a buffet and you want to eat a lot of sushi, I found out I don't want to be filled up on all this rice and seaweed. So I just get a bunch of them and then I start just picking the meat out of them and start eating them. All right, I got enough sushi for the day. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't need this extra rice or anything. Also when it comes to sushi, that there was a certain food. You ever heard of fugu? A type of sushi called fugu. You probably haven't heard of it, and there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Fugu is actually blowfish from. You've probably seen it on the National Geographic specials, and it blows up when attacked. It blows up and kind of scares the other fish from eating it. Or if it does get eaten, there's something poison in the fugu, because usually animals don't care what they just swallow it whole. They're not like humans, or like most humans, or some humans anyway. I worry about everything. I'll read labels and everything. But when you're in the wild, when you see a mouse or something you want to eat, or a bug, you just eat it, eat it whole. So if you eat the fugu, the animal will die. So if a human eats the fugu, they will die. Now, for many years, it was a delicacy in New York, and places where a lot of Japanese people live, California, stuff like that. And you had to be very well trained to prepare the fugu, because if you gave any bit of it to somebody who ordered it, they would die. So eventually it got banned in America. I think it's very hard. If you can eat it, it's probably illegal, and it's very hard to find. I remember one chef said it's the safest food you can eat. I said, why is that? Because if you eat old yogurt or an old piece of meat, you may die, and because nobody checked out. Fugu, they make sure that it's fine for you. But you can only eat it, I think, in Japan now. Fugu now, one of the best episodes of Columbo, believe it or not, had Louis Jourdan as the villain. And he was I think, head of a restaurant who served fugu, and he killed the person at the beginning of the movie, the Columbo movie, with the fugu. and then and it's a really good episode. It's also was the only episode of Columbo directed by Jonathan Demme, who became a great director from Silence of the Lambs and other movies. He in Philadelphia. Jonathan Demme made a film called Citizens Band that was such it was a hit. Not I mean it was a hit amongst critics, but the people wouldn't go see it. And
Right.
Peter Falk had seen this movie and really liked it. It is a good movie. Paul Le Mat is in it, and so he's all these movies, and he says, Columbo, Peter Falk says, I'd like to be in your next movie. And he says, I don't have a next movie. My movie was a bomb. So he says, well, I have an episode of Columbo. Maybe you'd like to direct. He goes, yes, and that turned out to be that episode of Columbo. Yeah. So check that out. If you can't, I don't remember the title of it, but I do know Fugu was the thing that tripped up the villain played by Louis Jourdan, who was in, Gigi, French actor who's in a lot of good movies. He's in Swamp Thing. You'd know him if you saw him. He's one of James Bond movies, I think Octopussy. And but you were talking about a restaurant you used to go to. Tell me about that one.
It was called the Groaning Board.
Now, how do you spell that?
It's Groning.
The Groaning Board.
Yeah, it's Groaning.
Now, where did you get that title? What does that mean?
It's like have you heard of security boards?
Security board, okay. What's that?
It's like you put cheese and meat and all of that.
Yeah.
It's like a little wooden plate.
Yeah.
Like that you have they serve at parties and stuff like that.
Would it be you heat it up or do you eat it like with the chopsticks or do you eat it with a fork? How do you eat it?
You just eat it with your hands.
Eat it with your hands.
Yeah.
Is there a certain is it a certain I think we have enemy choppers coming ahead. No, is it a now? What ethnicity is it? A Mongolian barbecue or something, or what is it?
It's like a
Chinese,
Old English type of thing.
Old English. Yeah. Oh, like pub food then.
Yeah, and they also served prime rib and everything.
Okay.
So.
Because a lot of that cheese and meat stuff and a cracker. You get at parties and stuff. I really love that stuff.
I do too.
Because I could eat the whole thing and not gain a pound, or at least I don't think I can. A lot of things you eat like at parties and at ball games that you think you won't gain a pound if you could eat it there, like that salami.
Yeah.
But one day I got the Genoa salami.
Yeah.
And if you actually look at, even though it tastes good and everything's very salty and spicy, if you look closely, there's these little white spots all over it. I thought I didn't know what those white spots were. And then one day I put it in the microwave, the heat. It is when I was a teenager, and all those white spots went away. It was fat, and it was melted. So then I realized, why am I eating raw fat on a salami? So whenever I get a salami, unless it's a very small piece, if I put it on a sandwich or something, I usually put it in the microwave and then just drip off all the fat because I'm Jack Sprat.
Yeah.
So what would you get at the Groaning place?
It's been since I was a kid, so
yeah.
I didn't really remember what I got.
Yeah.
But I know the adults in my family ordered prime rib.
Okay, well that's good.
And all that. So.
The English food. You just came from there. The English food is I like pub food. I always think of it as pub food. I think of like shepherd's pie. I think of like chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
Beef pot pie. And not that long ago, I got a chicken pot pie from Marie Callender's.
Oh yeah.
From the frozen food section. Yeah. It was really good, and it reminded me of when I was a kid. Now I've noticed something because of things have changed because of inflation. That they're trying to keep the price the same, but they're making the things smaller.
Yeah.
The foods like I can get a candy bar, it's smaller now.
Yeah.
And they try to keep the price, even though it's still pretty high.
Yeah.
And the chicken pot pie, I opened it, and the little bit of meat that was at the bottom of it was good, but it was mainly just crust,
Yeah.
which was good,
Yeah.
fillings. But I guess in theory, any food you could put in a pie crust and people will eat it.
Yeah.
And so so I've been enjoying some food. You have your show what ginger ale you're drinking. Hold it up. Very British ginger ale. Mary loves ginger ale.
I love ginger ale.
So
yes.
this is what I got her, Schweppes.
Yes.
You know what the bubbles is called in Schweppes? It's on the ads for Schweppes. Schweppevescence.
Oh.
And for many years, not in America, but for many years, Schweppes was the spokesman on the commercials for Schweppes was Benny Hill.
Oh.
And they were funny commercials. You could probably catch them on the internet, the old ones. But you know who was the voiceover for Heineken beer for many years? Who you think of him as an American actor, American comedian actually, Victor Borga, the piano guy,
Oh, yeah.
and he did the voiceovers for Heineken beer, which is from the Netherlands, Holland.
Oh, okay.
So I think they really wanted Orson Welles, but they couldn't get Orson Welles or something. Orson Welles, didn't need them, and then what happened was they got Victor Borga to do the voiceovers. They never showed him on camera; you just heard his voice. A lot of celebrities do that, and then what happened was he was such a big hit that they never. Well, I think for his whole life,
Yeah.
Victor Borga he continued doing the Heineken commercials.
Yeah.
And then there was a competitor in Denmark, a Danish beer. Actually, Victor Borga was from Denmark, called Carlsberg, and who did they hire to do their voiceovers? Orson Welles.
Oh.
Because at that point, he needed the money. And Orson Welles always needed the money because he was always making films. Now,
Yeah.
I have I've been eating these. These are peanuts, maple bourbon butter toffee. It'll get you drunk. Oh, I've never gotten drunk on rum raisin or bourbon balls. Right? I was at a party once, and someone made these homemade candies, and it was I guess they were bourbon balls or something. They were chocolate and they were very delicious. And she goes, eat. Someone said, eat them, eat them. And I ate them. And then the woman who made them saw me go, ah, don't eat those, don't eat those. I said, why? Or they spoiled or something? So no, I understand you don't drink. And I said, oh, well, I've already eaten them, so. But I didn't but let me tell you, you never get drunk from eating. Alcohol is usually boiled out of the food anyway.
Yeah,
You have to be
yeah.
pretty bad. But have some of these. I want you to tell me how much you love them. There's only a few left, but they're butter toffee, maple, bourbon, peanuts.
Yeah.
Have a few. Oh, maybe a couple. Like them?
Mm-hmm.
They have a. I don't taste too much bourbon. I think butter toffee peanuts are the best. Not very good for you. They're more like candy, but they have peanuts in them, so. Okay. I love peanuts.
I do too.
Peanuts are, if you bring peanuts, I asked friends of mine who are school teachers, elementary school teachers. They said, kids who bring a peanut butter sandwich or peanut butter Reese cups or something, they're almost outcasts like kids who smoked in the smoking area. Although the kids that smoked in the smoking area when I was in high school were actually considered the cool kids, but the kids who are eating peanuts in elementary school are not considered the cool kids, and they're actually sent to another table where they sit in exile from the other kids because it seems like all the other kids have peanut allergies. But this is maple bourbon butter toffee candied peanuts. It's pretty long title.
You're really good.
They're really good. Well, peanuts are good. When I go to like those places that give you free samples of peanuts,
Yeah.
I'm just Oh, that's my,
Oh yeah.
and some guy who actually ran. It was a friend of mine. He actually ran it at the state fair, the Virginia
Yeah, I
Peanuts
know. Yeah,
thing.
I
He
do
actually
that too.
what you do that too
Yeah,
at the
I do
state
that.
fair,
Yeah.
and because I'm always there at the state fair. And what happens is, one day he actually told me, I could eat peanuts all day, and I said, yes, I could too. I almost forget how to eat peanuts.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been up to. So right after Easter was April Fool's Day.
Yep. April
Yeah.
Fool's Day.
Now, did you play any tricks on anyone?
Yeah, my mom used to play a trick on me actually.
What did she do? Tell me what she did.
She said, "Mary, there's a spider on your head." Then I started feeling my head. I was like, I don't feel anything. She was like, April Fools.
Did you ever do that thing where they poke your head, and then with your hair, it feels like an egg falling down your head?
No.
Oh, well, I'll do that to you later. You can't really see it done. You almost have to have it done to you to follow it. But
Yeah.
I used to play crazy tricks on people. I'll tell you the best trick that was ever played on me was I had some sort of I thought I was how old was I? Like 25 years old. I thought I was this big celebrity in Ireland on the radio,
Yeah.
country music, DJ, voice, and everything. And I went to visit my grandmother in Sligo. So I took the trip from Dublin to Sligo. And someone had to pick me up from the station. I didn't have a car. And this British guy came up to me and said, "Wait a minute, are you?" My name at the day in those days was Colin Morrow. He goes, "Are you Colin Morrow?" I said, "Yeah." How did you know it was me? I said, "Well, I saw your picture somewhere, but your voice, I can't mistake your voice." So he said, I have this film crew in the back that want to do a documentary about you." And I said, "Oh, really?" Or not a documentary, but me appear in a documentary about people who live overseas, Americans. And I was, and so I said, "Oh," and he goes, well, let me take you around. And he was telling me at this train station, it's over here, but before then we'll talk about what can we talk about. And we're actually setting up this interview and all. It took about like 10 minutes when I was really believing this guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you want to meet our film crew?" And then he opened the door, and it was my uncle and my cousin. And the British guy with the red hair was my cousin, who I had never met before, but I knew who he was, but I didn't know, I'd never met him in the flesh. And that is my introduction to my brother, to my cousin. Of course, and then you get tripped up and goes, here you think you're Mr. Big Shot, and then it's all just a joke.
Wow.
It's all just a ruse.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the best trick that was ever played on me. I'm very wary now because of the way the internet is. People play tricks on you all the time. I have a friend that's always being played tricks on. They try to tell him, they the way the internet is set up now, they could actually, if you're a very gullible, sensitive, innocent person,
Yeah.
you could trade your life history for some magic beans. And they'll make it very convincing to you. I never fall for any of that stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't, other than what I just told you, I don't really fall for too much. But I kind of know how to make people fall for stuff. I remember one of the, there was a commercial. Little kids, you could always play tricks on. And little kids, you just laugh it off. They don't get too upset about it. And I remember there was this commercial for, I think, Carrier air conditioning systems, and the commercial was they showed when you push the button on the outside thing, at the unit outside your house for the air conditioning. If you pushed a couple of buttons, they showed money coming out. It goes, "This is the $100 that you save, or the $5 that you save," and it was a very convincing commercial, and everyone saw this commercial. So I had like a couple of dollars in my pocket. I was just walking by it with a little girl. She was actually my niece. And so I said, "Oh, look, And I was doing like the magic trick where you could take the money out of it.
Yeah.
Go look, $10. Oh, I only had like $10. And, oh, look, a 20, and then I found a $20. Oh, look, I got $30 here, just out of this machine, just like on the commercial.
Yeah.
So then we do something else. She says, I'm going in the house. So she went in the house. She came out with a bucket and says, I want more of that money.
Oh wow.
It was Brooke, actually.
Yeah.
But then the other one was, playing tricks on people. All the kids, yeah, I told the story once where sometimes, okay, I think of myself as this funny guy who could tell jokes and so I would watch these roasts on television, not the Comedy Central roast. This is like earlier on, like the Dean Martin roast.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, this is the greatest type of humor ever. It's just people go, they set some guy up, usually a famous person, and then they all come up and just start insulting him in a funny way, just tell jokes about them. And usually the guy that's being insulted is laughing. Milton Berle or Jimmy Durante or whoever it was,
Yeah.
And then the people, Don Rickles is usually on these shows a lot, insulting everybody. Dean Martin, of course, Foster Brooks. There were all these people. So I thought, oh man. So they said they had when I graduated from high school, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, he invited me to his house, and all his friends were there as a graduation party. And so he said, Kevin, I want you to start telling jokes. You're pretty good at that. And I said, okay. So I just took a cue from the from the roast, and I started making jokes about everybody. And guess what? In real life, that doesn't work.
Oh.
Especially a bunch of 18-year-olds. You can't make fun of their haircuts or
Yeah.
or how unathletic they are. I think one woman actually cried. I said, "Oh gosh," and then said, I can't tell any more jokes anymore. And he said, I didn't like what you said. My mother and father was there.
Oh wow.
And you were making these awful sex and bathroom jokes. Now I look back on it, it's all right. One of the things I did that was really funny was we had to, in fact, it's actually kind of famous in my school. We had to dress up like the Middle Ages.
Oh yeah.
And part of, me and two other guys. One guy was I think we were doing the Canterbury Tales. One guy was the miller, and one guy was the farmer, and the other guy was the squire or something.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what they were. And and we had to, each one of us had to describe what the other one was talking about. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And said, well, this guy's the squire. He wears a hat and he has a suit of armor. And this guy is the miller. He wears a hat and he wears stockings and describe how his life was. So all three of us picked one guy to do, but I actually won up all of them because I had something to say about each of the two guys and just started insulting them. Every time they said something, I just answered back. And we actually sort of had a script to follow, but I had my script to follow, which was funnier than anything they could come up with. And everyone was laughing. The other two guys were just nonplussed by it. They were friends of mine, but they were nonplussed by it. And then the grades came out. And they got like a B or something, each of them, and I got a C because I didn't really fulfill what the teacher wanted in this history class, or this English class. Because I just was there to tell jokes, and I failed miserably in getting the assignment done. It's been like 40 years since then. People are still talking about me being funny and not that they got a B and we all graduated from college, so it all didn't matter in the end. So sometimes you do things in the moment, or you plan these things to work out, quite well for that. So and so I. I'm always into it's all about jokes. So some people actually, when I was growing up, they thought I was irreverent.
Yeah.
I think I said this once before. My mother didn't like me being irreverent because I really like satire, Mad Magazine, National Lampoon.
Yeah.
And she actually wanted me to read Playboy more because I was more. She thought I was too involved in comedy, not enough in girls.
Yeah.
Girls come. Comedy is always around, but satire. But she didn't like me poking fun at people in high places like politicians, preachers, teachers. Who else? Anyone? The Law and Order types. You know, I'm still have that kind of that wildness, wild hair
Yeah.
like that. But it keeps me going. Keeps me
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. So anyway, thanks. I think we should do more. We should do a second part of the show.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, but we're going to take a break first. So.
All right. I gotta get a drink of water.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Be right back. Talk to you later. Take care. God bless.